Good afternoon. From the Media Center of Odesa, you can watch us online on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. Our current speaker is Oleksandr Shtupun, spokesperson to the Joint Press Center of the Tauride Defense Forces. Good afternoon. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to heroes. Thank you for joining us today. Let's start with the current situation in the Tauride sector over the last days or several days. When it comes to the previous 24 hours, the enemy has attacked 4 times with missiles. No aircraft was used, and over the last 3 days, we can see decreased activity of the aircraft. Perhaps this is related to weather conditions. And there were 29 attacks yesterday, but we can see the decreased number of assault activities, but they continue cynically ignore the laws of war. They have attacked with S-300 civilian healthcare institutions in the village of Selidovo in the Donetsk region. The central municipal hospital was damaged as a result of the attack, and in mine, 7 civilians were wounded or injured, according to the latest information from the State Emergency Service of Ukraine. But 2 more persons are allegedly under the rubble, so the activities are ongoing to find those people. I'd also like to emphasize that Russian terrorists continue using anti-infantry mines that are forbidden by the international agreements. They also continue attacking healthcare professionals and evacuation cars. Oleksandr, there has been information about the transition of equipment and manpower in the direction of Berdansk. What type of equipment is being transported, and what is the reason for that? I cannot provide details about the equipment and machinery, but there are guns there. And also, the infantry troops have been repositioned. And there are 2 reasons. The enemy could be afraid of our counteroffensive operation, and they want to distract attention of our army near Zaporizhzhia. What is the situation in the Avdiivka sector? There has been information that the armed forces of Ukraine successfully attacked the enemy's positions and have been moving forward. Fights are ongoing, and we cannot disclose information, but our army continues attacking the enemy, and the enemy has been facing significant losses. The enemy has been attacking in Bakhmut, Avdiivka, Pervomaisk, and 10 attacks have been repelled. The enemy has been also attacking our troops in the Mariinka sector. They have been trying to move forward near Mariinka, Pobedova, Novomikhalinka, but 12 attacks of the enemy were successfully repelled by our army. What has been used by the enemy near Avdiivka? The enemy has been using minimum of the equipment because it is snowy there, and there are fallen leaves. That's why it is very difficult for the enemy to camouflage the military equipment. And the enemy is vividly seen there. That's why the enemy has been using small groups of infantry units to make it more difficult for our artillery. How can you assess the preparation, the training of the Russian forces that are used near Avdiivka? The level of training is different. There are special units, but mostly we can see poorly trained people. These are newly mobilized soldiers, or these are prisoners that are used in assault units, and for them it is even difficult to properly orient in the field. So this is the tactics of local assaults. How long does it take for Russians to train newly mobilized persons? Do you have such information? They say that it takes 10, 14 days, but de facto they train people for 2, 3 days. And so the situation is different. It depends on the enemy's losses in a specific sector. So they just sometimes need to fill in gaps. That's why they cannot properly train their manpower. So after the mobilization, the Russians are sent to the front lines right away. We cannot say it about all soldiers. Someone trained in full cycle, but in most cases the training is poor or is incomplete. But don't think that those people who are involved in assaults are poorly trained. They are afraid. And the first wave, during the first battle, they are enthusiastic, but when they see first losses, they started thinking about their situation, and they are just forced to move on. Do you see any cases when newly mobilized Russian soldiers, when realizing their situation, try to contact special forces of Ukraine to get into captivity? And for example, over the last 24 hours, 2 occupiers have surrendered, and sometimes they surrender in groups. This week we have seen the case with 10 people surrendering. We cannot speak about massive nature, but still they surrender. What do you know about the equipment in the Tauride sector over the last week among occupiers? Over the week in the Tauride sector, the enemy has lost 196 units of the military equipment, and around 3,300 persons that have been either killed or injured. The British intelligence says that with the start of the winter and cold weather, we could expect the decreased activities and operations from both sides. When it comes to statistics, to numbers, over the last 2 days, we have seen the decreased number of fightings in 2 times. The same can be said about the aerial attacks over the last 24 hours. No aerial attacks have been seen, but the enemy has been using missiles instead. Thank you, Oleksandr, for this important information from the front line. Thank you for joining the Media Center Ukraine Odesa, and we'll continue at 12:30.